Hey, peace and blessings, everybody. I pray that you are having a blessed and prosperous day today. And above all, I pray that you woke up this morning and told God thank you for waking you up, watching over you, and keeping you, bringing you through January, February, March, April, May. And here we are in the month of June. The summer months are upon us, and we have to be consciously aware that only by the grace of God are we able to make it from one day to the next day to the next day. That being said, I want to take a few minutes to talk about church membership. And this message is for church members of the Freedom Church specifically. But I want to just kind of throw this net out for church members everywhere, because I believe other pastors will agree with everything I'm about to say. When it comes to church membership, one of the most important things for members to be mindful of is how important it is for you to be faithful. Now, someone asked me one time, what's your definition of faithfulness? Are you talking every time the doors are open? Are you talking every Sunday, every Bible study? What's your definition of faithfulness? And they were looking for some type of numerical indication, which I don't subscribe to. When I talk about faithful, my definition is very simple. Faithful, to me, is someone who, when they are absent, it is abnormal. That's my definition of faithful. Let me say it again. Faithful to me is someone, when they are absent, it is abnormal. Not only is it abnormal, it is noticeable. Oftentimes, I understand that people sometimes think that churches should be run like other institutions and organizations that they have been a part of. But the church is different. The church is a twofold ministry where the people who are part of the congregation come in to receive wisdom, knowledge, understanding, camaraderie, family. But at the same time, they are responsible for depositing and making a contribution into this organization so that they aren't just takers, but they're also partners. I've been teaching people for years that there's a difference between being a member and a partner, and far too many members never become partners. Someone asked me once again, what's the difference between a member and a partner? And I said, imagine you have a gym membership, and when you go to the gym, you can see that a piece of equipment is broken. Maybe the treadmill isn't working, or the elliptical machine is malfunctioning. Maybe one of the cables on one of the pulley machines isn't operable. Well, what do we normally do if we are a member of that gym? We go to the front desk, we inform the manager or the staff that there's a piece of equipment that is not operating. Just wanted to let you guys know. Management or staff says, thank you, we'll take care of it. And you go about your day, you finish your workout, you leave the gym, and you probably don't think about that piece of equipment again, at least until you go back to the gym. And that's one of the benefits and privileges of being a member. But imagine if you were a partner of that gym. A partner is someone that has a stake in its success. Well, as a partner, you're not allowed the benefit or the luxury of just hearing about the equipment being broken, but because you're a partner, you are obligated to do something about it. And again, many members never become partners because their association and their affiliation with the church congregation is very minimalistic. We come in, we observe, we receive, and we're out. This is why faithfulness is so critical. And when I talk about faithfulness, I'm talking about faithfulness beyond wanting to get to know the pastor. You can't call yourself a faithful member if you don't know the names of half the congregation. You can't call yourself a faithful member if you don't know your elders and your ministers. You can't call yourself a faithful member if, when you are absent, it is not abnormal. No, when you become a faithful member of a local church, you plug in. You want to be known, but you also allow yourself to be known. So I'm encouraging members all over the world, more specifically the Freedom Church, to make sure that you're not just a member, but to make sure that you're also a partner, which means make sure that you're faithful. We have over 500 members at the Freedom Church. We've been in existence 16 years. Over those 16 years, we've had over 500 people become members of the Freedom Church. I will tell you this, that I don't have 500 people who are faithful. Now, I'm not slamming anybody. I'm just stating facts, making a point that you can join a church, call yourself a member, but not be faithful. And here is the irony when you are that individual. When you have a need, when you have an emergency, when you have something that you want from the church, you expect for the pastor to stop whatever he's doing and to come running to you, even if you haven't been in 6 months or a year. And to each his own. If that's the way you were raised, I won't say anything about that. The way I was raised is a little bit different. I was raised to understand that an absent body has no voice. Let me say that again. An absent body has no voice. And just because you put your name on a membership roster, if you haven't been active, you haven't been faithful, you haven't been a contributor, how can one truly expect for everybody to drop what they're doing when church has become optional, unimportant, or certainly not a top priority in your life? And I think people need to be reminded that church does matter, but church has to matter when you don't want anything. Woo, man, that's good. Church has to matter when you don't have a need, when you aren't trying to get anything. Church has to matter when they aren't giving anything away for free. Church has to matter when you're more interested in what you can do to contribute to the success of that church than you are what you can get from that church. So again, I'm encouraging every member of every church, but more specifically the Freedom Church, to evaluate your faithfulness, to evaluate the priority that you place on being present at your church. And no, I don't believe you have to be there every Sunday. I don't believe you have to be there every time the doors are open. But I do believe that you should be qualified to be called faithful, which means you're there most of the time. You're there the majority of the time. And when you can't be there, here's the difference between membership and partnership. Here's the difference between being faithful. When you can't be there, you're accountable to those who are going to be there. That when you're absent, somebody knows, hey, I'm not going to make it this Sunday. I'll see y'all next Sunday. But when you look at membership as something that is, take it or leave it, insignificant, irrelevant, not that important, then church kind of gets put on the back burner as it relates to accountability. That is until we need something. So I want you to be encouraged, because oftentimes people have a lot of negative things to say about the church, about the pastor. Pastor doesn't care. Those people don't care. And it's not that we don't care. Oftentimes we just haven't had the opportunity to really connect with you because you haven't allowed us to. It's hard to connect when you come to church and the minute the benediction is over, you're the first thing out of the parking lot smoking. Sunday after Sunday, Wednesday after Wednesday, whenever you go to church, you're the fastest thing hightailing it out of there. How can you connect that way? How can people get to know you if you never show up to serve? How can people get to know you if you never hang around to introduce yourself to 5 people who you don't know, you've never spoken to, they may not know you? How do you expect to connect? I think we have got to really get a better understanding of what church is meant to do and meant to be. And it's meant to be a community. It's meant to be a collaboration. And it's meant to be a community and a collaboration. And I definitely wanted to say this, and I'm thankful that God put it on my memory so I didn't forget it. Church is meant to be a community and a collaboration that evolves around God and not around the pastor. Now I need that to kind of mellow and settle for a second, because it's important that you hear that, embrace it, understand it, and It's important that you appreciate it. Now, some pastors, I know for a fact, they love for the church to evolve around them. They love for themselves to be the centrifugal force in the congregation and the community of the church. That's not me. And personally, I don't believe that's God's will. I believe that the church, that the community, the members should evolve around each other like orbiting planets, concerned about each other, praying for each other, getting to know each other, loving each other. But in most, or should I say in far too many church congregations and church settings, the goal is to get to know the pastor. The goal is to shake the pastor's hand. The goal is to have a 15 to 20 minute, 30-minute conversation with the pastor on Sunday after he's preached, after he's ministered, after he's been at the church 3 or 4 hours before the service began. And I think we've got to really get an understanding, people, that for me as the senior pastor of the Freedom Church, and I can't speak for other pastors, but those that know me and they know exactly what I'm about to say. For me as the senior pastor of the Freedom Church, my ego and my essence is not tied into me being buddy-buddy with everybody that comes through the door of the church. My ego and my essence is not tied into me having to have everybody know my name and having to have everybody shake my hand and hug my neck and tell me that I preached a great sermon. My ego and my essence is not connected to that, which allows me freedom to step back and allow everybody to be equally important, to allow everybody an opportunity to get to know everybody, because I'm not the centerpiece, I'm not the focus, I'm not the centrifugal force that the church evolves around, and neither do I desire to be. God is the centrifugal force. Jesus is the centrifugal force. The Holy Spirit is the centrifugal force which our church evolves around, which should be greatly appreciated, because when it is that way, then people have a great opportunity to get to know somebody other than the pastor. Again, this falls under being faithful. It falls under being accountable. It falls under being more than a member. It falls under being a partner. And I say this in love. The church is a phenomenal institution, created and given to us as a gift from God himself. But oftentimes with the gifts of God, there can be misuse and there can be abuse. And when you are a taker and not an investor, not a giver, not a partner, then you have a tendency to see church through one lens, and that one lens is, what can the church do for me? I pray that if you have that perspective, that you will hear the heart of God through this communication and recognize that that is not the way that God intended for his family to function. I read somewhere, and I've read it over and over again on social media, that members' faithfulness, attendance, contributions, and partnership should be equal to the expectation that they have of the pastor. And I'm rephrasing it because I can't quite remember it verbatim the way that I've read it. But the essence is that you ought to give at the same level you expect to get. That you ought to give at the same level you expect to receive. Because at the end of the day, that's what partnership looks like. So I wanted to share this message. It's been on my heart for a while. And God said, I wanted you to share it today. So I said, okay, say less. And that's it. In 15 minutes, I've shared it. If you're a member of the Freedom Church, listen to it, embrace it. Tweak where you need to be tweaking your faithfulness, your partnership, improve where you need to improve. And if you are not a member of a local church and you're thinking about becoming one, remember what I've said in this video. Your future pastor will greatly appreciate it, as well as those of you who are members of other churches. Run it by your pastor and see if he agrees with what I've said in this video. And if he does, then do the best that you can to be one of the best members and one of the best partners that he's ever experienced and seen and had the privilege of pastoring. Hey, this is Pastor Wynn Sr., the senior pastor of the Freedom Church, just sharing my heart with you More importantly, I believe it's the heart of God as it relates to his church and his people. Have a blessed day.